Hi everyone, welcome to SUA Yes Lab. This is lecture 3 on Yes 100, whereby we're going to discuss about data structure in Python. So we have discussed about data structure known as list. Also have discussed another data structure known as dictionary. So today we are going to discuss another data structure which it is known as a tuple. Okay, now what is a tuple? A tuple is a built-in data structure in Python that is an ordered collections of objects. So tuple is just like a list, but the difference is the tuple comes with the limited functionalities. So we're going to see what are the why do we say the tuple have the limited functionalities. Sorry. There are several characteristics of tuple. One of the characteristics is a tuple cannot be changed after being created, while the list can be changed. So here, if you create a tuple and while creating, you provide it with, let's say, 5 items, then you cannot change, so it cannot be changed. Also, another characteristic of a tuple is very fast to create compared to the list. And we can also say everything which works with the list, it can work with the tuple, except methods which modify the tuple. Because we said the tuple cannot be changed. You cannot change the tuple. So that's why we say all methods which works with the list can work with the tuple, except those methods which they will modify the tuple. So what is the primary difference between list and tuple? The primary difference is the mutability. The lists are mutable, while the tuples are immutable. When we are saying the lists are mutable, it means the list can be modified. But on the tuple, you cannot modify the tuple. You cannot add item to the tuple. You cannot delete items from the tuple, and some other modification functions cannot be applied on the tuple. While creating a tuple, we use the parentheses like this. So this is how you create a you create a tuple. Sorry, you just use parentheses, or you can use a function called tuple. So this is a way of creating a tuple, which it is, it differs to how do you create a list. While creating a list, just use the square bracket like this one, or you can use a function called list. But on the tuple, you use the parentheses to create a tuple. You use a parenthesis which will enclose the elements, and those elements must be separated by commas. So if you want to create a tuple, let's say of 4 items or 4 elements, you can use this parenthesis and then provide and then give a list of those items. So 5.7, for example, comma, 4, comma, yes, comma, 5.7. Very important thing to note here. If you just want to create a tuple, even if it has 1 item, you must add the comma after that item. So it doesn't mean if you have 1 item, then you can just write the item without the comma. No, that will be interpreted differently. Okay, so this is how you can create a tuple. As I said, you can use this parenthesis and then provide the list of items. Item 1, comma, item 2, comma, item 3, comma, up to nth item. If you have 1 item, then use the parenthesis, then the item value, then comma. It means this is how you can create a tuple with one item. But if you want to create an empty tuple, then you just provide, just write the parentheses without providing an element. How can we access the tuples? The tuples can be accessed by using index. For example, if you have created a tuple A and then you want to access the first item, item 1, then since the item 1 is located at index 0, then you can say tuple A and provide the index value. This one will give you the access of the element or the item at index 0. What if you just want to access a group of items? Let's say you want to access elements from tuple A from index 0 up to index 3. This one will give you all the items from index 0 up to index 3. So to give item 1, item 2, item 3, and then item 4, because this is an index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. How can we update tuples? Tuples are immutable. So since they are immutable, we cannot update or change the values of the tuple element. So if you have your tuple and then you want to, let's say to update some values, you can just copy the items from that tuple to another tuple, adding and then adding another elements which you want to add them. So, but generally, the original tuple cannot be modified. Why? Because of these characteristics, because it is immutable. How can we delete elements? The same. You cannot remove items from the tuple. You cannot remove items. Why? Because they are immutable. We have several tuple methods, like CMP, len, max, min, tuple, index, counts, etc., etc. There are several methods of functions. For example, the count function, it returns the number of times the value appears in the tuple. For example, we have this tuple with the item apple, banana, and cherry. We may want to count how many times the value banana appears from the tuple. So the value banana, how many times you can use the function count. So you start with the name of the tuple, then dot count, and then you provide the item which you want to count the number of times. So this is how you can access the methods of a tuple. For example, this is for each, the name of the tuple, and then count the name of the method. So for each dot count, what do I need to count? I want to count banana. This is how you can count. There is index. It returns the index where the item or the elements is located. For example, this one, we have a tuple with elements apple, banana, and cherry. And then we want to know what is the index of item or element banana. So this one will return or will print 1 because banana is located on index 1. This is index 0 and this is index 1. Another function is len. This one gives the total length of a tuple. It counts how many items are in the tuple. We have max. It returns the tuple with the maximum. It returns from the tuple with the maximum value. So, for example, if you have a tuple with integer values, this one will return the maximum value. The min, it is the opposite of the max function. It returns the minimum value from the tuple. Then there is tuple list. Is a function to create a tuple. as I said earlier, you can create the tuple by using the this kind of bracket, but you can also use the tuple function to create a tuple. For example, this one here, it shows there is a list with 4 items, but someone want to convert this list, into tuple, into tuple. So this one, we are going to use the tuple function, and provide inside the tuple function, provide the list. This list will be converted into tuple. Remember, the list, by using the list data structure, you can modify this, the elements you can add, you can edit. But if you convert it into tuple, then automatically it becomes immutable. You cannot edit. See? Okay, so this is the very simple introduction of the so-called functions of tuples. Now let's go to the practical sessions and see what can we do. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the first thing of creating tuple. If you remember, we said there are 2 ways. There are 2 ways of creating tuple. The first one, number 1, by using this kind of bracket. So here I can create my tuple with the name integer tuple. Then I say I want to have 2, 5, 7, 1, 90. This is my tuple. Okay, let's run this one. If you see this kind of star here, it shows that this code block is running. So let's wait until it is finished, so that you can continue. Okay, now let's start our practical session with creating tuple. As we said, there are 2 ways. Of creating tuple. The first one is by using parentheses. So I can create my tuple. Let me call it int tuple, and then I can give it values. Let's say 4, 2, 6, 1, 90. So this is my tuple. Let me run this cell. Okay, so the cell has run. Let's print our tuple and see int tuple. Let us print this one. Okay, as you can see, this is our tuple. This is how you can create a tuple. But also there is another way of creating tuple, whereby we can use functions. So number 2, by using tuple, can use tuple. Okay, so by using tuple function, I can create another tuple. Let me call it age. Let me call it names tuple. And then by using the function, you can say tuple and then bracket. And then inside the bracket, you put another bracket whereby you can provide the list of the items. So I can say Hussein Ekade Mayele. So this is how you can create a tuple, a tuple by using a tuple function. Now, let me print it here. Print names tuple. So I can run, and then wow, there it is. So this is our tuple with the name Hussein, Kade, Papa, Papa, and Mayele. Okay, now let's have a look on another function which we call it mean function. So we say the mean function can be used to check the minimum value from the tuple. So how can we apply it? Can apply it as follows. Let's find the minimum value. Let's say minimum value. So I'm just creating a variable called minimum value, and then I use the function called mean. And then inside the function called mean, I provide the tuple. So let's use this one because it has integer values. Let me use this one, int tuple, then there. So this one will contain the minimum value. So I can print the minimum value. Let me add some explanation. The minimum value from the tuple is, and comma, and I write minimum value. Let's try to run this one. Okay, run. Wow, the minimum value from the tuple is 1. Why? Because on this tuple we had 4, 2, 6, 1, and 90. Now let's find, let's use the maximum max function, whereby it returns the maximum value from the tuple. Okay, so can prepare my variable maximum value. Then I can use the function max. Inside the function max, I can provide the name of the tuple, which it is int tuple for this case. And then so the maximum value will be stored in the maximum value variable. And then I can print, let me print the value with the good narration. The maximum value from the tuple is, and then a comma, say maximum value. Wow, so the maximum value is 90. So as you can see, because here we have 4, 2, 6, 1, and 90. So this is another function which can be used. Okay, now let's have a look on another function which is called the count function. So this one will count the number of occurrence of a certain item. So for example, we want to count the number of 4 in the int tuple. We can just say int tuple dot count, and then what do we want to count is 4. So we can let's print here. So print, and then let's run this one. Wow, so the number of 4, the number of occurrence for item or element 4 is 1. Let's create another tuple with multiple values called multi multi-value tuple. And then let me use this one. You can say 3, 4, 5, 2, 7, 8, 3, 67, 2, 3. Okay, let me run. And then let me use again the count function. So I can say value tuple, multiple value tuple, dot count. Let us count 3, because 3 it occurs 1, 2, 3, it occurs 3 times. And then let's print this one. Print. Then let's run. Wow, so it says 3 occurs 3 times. Let's try to check how many times let's say 2 over 2 times. Okay, now let's print multi value tuple dot count 2. Okay, so 2 occurs 2 times. So this is how we can use the count function. Let's have a look on another function which is called index function. This one, it returns the index of a certain item from the tuple. So for example, we want to know what is the index of 8. What is the index of 8? Okay, so if you want to have an index of value 8, you can say the name of the tuple dot index, and then I provide the value on which I want to get its index. Then I can simply print and say the index of 8 is let me assign this index. Let me assign it to variable index 8. And then let me run this one. Wow, so the index of 8 is 5. As you can see, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how you can use some of the functions. Okay, so there is another function which it is called sum function. So this function is used to sum items of the tuple. Now let's try to sum the multi-value tuple. So how can you use it? You can just say sum and then provide the name of the tuple. So let me say, let me create another variable called sum value, and then I can print. The sum of the tuple is, then some value. So if I run this one, except I'll get the total of the total of this one. So if you sum all these values, you will get the total of 104. Let's have a look on. Okay, thank you so much for this lecture 3. For reference on list, And the other data structure which we have discussed, we may go to lecture 1 and 2. Thank you very much. You are welcome.